This video is brought to you by Surfshark. Stick around to hear more about the special offer they're providing to the entire upper echelon community. Alright, it's been a while. Quite a while, actually, but I'm finally ready to do a complete review of Remnant 2. Not because I'm slow and suffer from a severe case of procrastination, despite that also being true, but rather in this case because the game is undeniably fantastic and was impossible to properly review based on just a few days of gameplay. I struggled for quite a while on how to actually start, so for this one I'll start with a simplified overview. Remnant 2 checks off pretty much every single major box, at least for me, on the list of what makes a high-quality game. The basic experience, really quickly, because most people watching reviews of a video game already know precisely what the game is and only check on those reviews as a result of confirmation bias or controversy, the basic experience is a linear but randomized set of campaigns with segmented worlds that are procedurally generated from a central list of possible zones. In reality, it's a little bit more complicated than that, seeing as how the procedural generation takes place on both a zone and region level, but I'll get to that later down the line. So for now, it's a series of linear pathways that you can explore with Dark Souls-style combat. Now, people use that comparison a lot these days. It's just like Dark Souls, but the reason for that makes quite a bit of sense. Combat in Dark Souls, and Remnant 2 for that matter, is difficult. Stop paying attention, even on the lowest difficulty, and you'll probably die. Yes, there are some builds that break the game. Yes, there are invincibility bugs, or things that can be used to disrupt the game's balancing in a general sense, but taking all of that in stride, when functioning as intended, as the developers truly intended, the game is a difficult experience, where you will need to traverse the levels in front of you, find gear, and get stronger. That's like the whole package there. The fundamental curve of progression, at least for me, is the thing that matters the absolute most. Why do we play games if not to progress? Why do we spend our time learning or gathering materials if not to get stronger? And why should I spend time here as opposed to any other existing video game on the entire market? The answer to that question is, in my opinion, damn near perfection. Remnant 2 has what I consider to be nearly perfect power progression from both a character and gear perspective. Every level, every zone, every discovery, and every boss fight has totally unique value. And maybe that value is not immediately obvious upon first completion to a brand new player. Maybe the mod you got doesn't seem to fit right in with the gear that you currently use, or the ring you found has bad stats that don't seem useful at the time. But regardless of whether or not you can see the value in that particular moment, the value is there. Let's use an example. This right here on screen, playing in the background right now, is just one of the builds that I have managed to construct that I consider to be either finished or almost finished. There's a few of them. This build uses a shotgun, two of them actually, a primary and a secondary double-barrel shotgun, and might sound like a close-range type of playstyle at first glance, until you realize how deep the customization really is. This is a shotgun with a single-shot magazine, but through various combinations of traits, rings, mutators, mods, and perks, it's more like a sniper rifle with massive range. Let's be honest, it is a sniper rifle with insane reload speed and high damage. Now, you may wonder, what does this really have to do with reviewing the game? That sounds more like a build video of sorts, but let me explain. I did not know this kind of thing was entirely possible, or anything even remotely close really, when I did my first impressions. In fact, over the course of my time spent so far, I have not once but multiple times encountered items that weren't even on the game's wiki page yet. Why? Because the developers of Remnant 2 have built something unbelievably complex, surprisingly well-balanced, extremely engaging, and totally unique. Those times of unknown discovery have unfortunately passed by now. I'm not saying you can go into the game and discover things that no one else in the world has discovered, but there is nothing stopping you as a new player from experiencing the entire sequence on your own multiple times over. Alright, sponsor time, and for this video that sponsor is once again Surfshark. Biggest thing to say right off the bat by far is that Surfshark is the longest running sponsor of this entire channel. They've stuck with me through thick and thin, which genuinely means something in the current landscape of YouTube, while offering a service that I have personally vetted, believe in, and use for myself. I don't take that lightly. Surfshark is a VPN, virtual private network, and VPNs, while not a one-stop solution to everything, because nothing ever is in the world of digital security, VPNs do protect you from a bunch of different things. Certain types of phishing attacks, or malware, DNS tunneling, DDoSing, etc., and also shields you to an extent from the modern phenomenon of big tech data harvesting and or tracking. For those more focused on raw entertainment value, which is fair, Surfshark unlocks additional content on streaming websites, like Netflix for example. This is a direct result of how licensing agreements operate geographically. Simply change your location and enjoy increased options in your video library. Surfshark can get you around regional censorship, such as government restrictions on particular websites, and also offers encryption, IP protection, or more importantly, modification, and much more. Surfshark merged with a company called Nord Security not too long ago. However, it should be stated explicitly here that these two companies operate separate VPN infrastructure. Also, Surfshark has a warrant canary for anyone interested in that particular functionality. If you click the link down below right now using promo code Echelon at checkout, you can get 3 full months entirely for free. Again, that's promo code Echelon for 3 entire months free, not just a discount if you click the link down below in the description right now. Big thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring the channel. Remnant 2 is all about secrets. Levels are broken down into initial, then hub zones. Hubs are then given a couple of randomly selected dungeons, and even quests or puzzles within those hubs can be shown in a randomized way. The sum total of that system, this randomization, which even comes down to a tile set within the zones and dungeons themselves, the sum total of that system is an exceptionally unique experience for, I'd say, at least bare minimum 3 to 5 consecutive playthroughs, probably more than that. Each zone has like, 7 to 12 items and collectibles. Those collectibles each provide a relatively well-balanced mechanic or stat boost, but none of it really gets my point across until I phrase it like this. There are over 80 weapons so far. 30 mutators, which are just a completely different item that you can equip, 140 rings and counting as of the making of the script, 60 amulets, 20 relics, plus more categories I haven't even mentioned. You get to level up your engrams, which correspond to class archetypes, select from the skills they offer, and then keep those pre-leveled classes around for future runs, just switching them in and out at your pleasure. Now, that's cool, but how is it different from other games? I can hear the questions already. Answer? It's different because there's always something more to find. There is always another thing you didn't even know existed, a secret you didn't know was there, and perhaps the best demonstration of this is that Remnant 2 had an entire class archetype called the Archon hidden behind a process called data mining. That may sound foreign to some people, probably not, but just in case, so let me put it this way. There was an entire playable class tucked away in the game's code, hidden there, that didn't even get discovered until a week after release. Why? Because the developers wanted to create and extend that sought-after feeling of discovering or obtaining things for the very first time as long as humanly possible, with as much quality as possible while doing so, and they absolutely knocked it out of the park. Now that the class has been fully discovered, everyone can access it with a few specific items at a set location, but to get here, data miners had to comb through the code of the game and discover clues, which is one of the best examples I can possibly think of when it comes to development teams engaging their community on all fronts. I have never played a game, well, I don't know, maybe Elden Ring, maybe, but I've basically never played a game that did a better job at making you check every corner of the world. Other games get close, sometimes, but this is it. The best one, or tied for the best one. And don't get me wrong, this isn't drip-fed content with time gates or lazy design that irritates you on the way to achieving larger goals, yet you somehow keep playing because of the dopamine hits. This game offers you an enormous amount of content, structured in a way where it can be digested, processed, and replayed, all while overachieving on expectations basically every day you log in. Not many games command attention these days. They try, of course. Companies are obviously competing for attention more so than ever before. They call it the attention economy. But all too often, sadly, those attempts at capturing your interest are kitsch, for lack of a better word. They're shit, bad, worthless, what have you. Games often end up being a delicate balance of irritation and fatigue just to achieve a particular goal, and if you get too frustrated along the way, you quit. Maybe my attention span is shit, maybe I'm too impatient, I don't know. But Remnant 2 makes me think, no, it's not me that has a problem, it's the modern video games that have the problem. Because when I play Remnant 2, I actually feel like the game itself is respecting my time and creativity. The more I build up my armory, the more secrets I end up finding, and the more I discover, the more flexibility I have to try new things, which lead to new discoveries, right? It's a loop here. I don't think I've unlocked even half of the content so far at the time of scripting. Actually, I probably have pretty much everything, right, by now, just on separate characters. That's one way to look at it. Anyway, regardless, I've been grinding pretty hard, so when I say that this game is worth the price tag, I'm not just saying those words for the sake of the video, because that's what other YouTubers do. I'm saying them because I appreciate what the developers have done here in a way that's actually difficult for me to even express. Let's run down a checklist here. Price tag, $50. In a world where reskinned garbage is now $70 from a lot of major studios. That matters. Microtransactions? None. And that's how it fucking should be. Length? Hundreds of hours long if you actually enjoy the gameplay, and that's before we even talk about co-op. Do not listen to websites like this. Completionist run, 57 hours? I don't know what these people were smoking, but they have no idea what this game is, because the truth here is that you will spend in excess of 100 hours very easily and still have more to find. Here's the part where I split the audience down into two distinct groups, solo players and co-op players. I actually played most of my time initially in this game solo, and it was awesome. It's difficult, certainly, especially on higher settings, of course, but the curve of solo player progression is, as stated earlier in the review, fantastic. However, when you actually take the leap and start playing with other people, okay? And that is a leap to take for some people out there who bought the game. They don't want to do that. They want to play offline by themselves, or they can't. They don't always have that ability to play with other people. But when you take the leap, the feeling you get is amazing. It may sound odd, but think of it this way. The game is all about secrets, layers of content that go deeper and deeper down. For example, when you play through, you can get a melee weapon called a dream catcher. That dream catcher gets used when you replay the game again in order to extract dreams from bosses and NPCs, a few of them, which lead to entirely new, unique areas with their own loot, thereby carrying certain decisions forward multiple campaigns in, resulting in new and interesting gear. However, and that's a big however, the depth of a system like that, the complexity involved, can be daunting. I've read a lot about this game over the past couple of weeks all over the internet, but I'm still not even close to memorizing all of the locations, puzzles, and mechanics. I definitely found some cool ones, but when you hop over to co-op gameplay, the dynamics of exploration completely change. Personal example, I spent like 5 or 6 straight hours running through one of the worlds. I was looking for a particular item which I knew about because a friend of mine had gotten it and told me how he did it, or at least how he thinks he did it. Cool. Well, while I did that for basically 6 straight hours, thinking I had fully explored that particular location every time it came up, I had no idea that there were like 4 other items and events hidden right in front of me that I just didn't know about. When I joined a game in co-op, running through the zone as if there was nothing new for me to find, right? I was out ahead of the pack, there were 2 people behind me, and I'm just bolting through the level. One of my teammates got my attention and signaled me to climb the scaffolding. I did. Sadly, I don't have footage. I was just casually playing at the time, not recording. But when I climbed up and jumped across and kept going, I ended up parkouring across the rooftops to a brand new place I didn't even know existed, with a mini-boss, an event, and multiple more pieces of gear. I only found that place because Remnant 2 rewards cooperative play purely as a result of knowledge. When you join other players, you become a conduit of your experience and knowledge to them. As you run through, you'll know personally where some of the cool items are that you already gathered because you did it yourself. Maybe they didn't know. Maybe they get something new. And actually, this is a side note here. The game tells you when that happens in kind of a roundabout way. You find an item and you'll get scrap, or it'll pop up. The item pops up in the bottom left corner, and there's this way that you can kind of tell, I just found an item that I already had and I knew existed, but they didn't have it, so I just got something new for them. It's a really cool feeling. And you also come to understand rather quickly, I might add, that the inverse is also true. What naturally ends up happening, and it's really a wonderful feeling, is that people group up, play through the randomized worlds together, showing each other where the good shit is. Because as long as you show them the cool stuff, the items that they may not have known about, that are off the beaten path, they'll show you what they know about. And you want them to show you. Because even if you go over to the wiki and look it all up for yourself, you'll still have a hard time finding everything in a given location. It's very complex, and a lot of the items weave together where if you get one thing, you can't get the other till you re-roll the entire campaign. So it's a very, very creative system. That's the part that I don't think people are actually getting about this game. It's not just one campaign, it's about you existing in this maze of levels, learning and growing the longer you play, and obviously there is a cap at some point, but from one experience to the next, you find more and more content almost every time. Again, this is one of the most replayable games that I've played in a very long time. For anyone who isn't already sold or actively playing the game right now, get this. There are 4 difficulties in Remnant 2: Survivor, Veteran, Nightmare, and Apocalypse. For those difficulties, there are unique rewards, and oh man, it's so satisfying to say that, based on your completion of the game with that higher difficulty. The shotgun build that I use quite often now, it's probably my primary, the one that I showed earlier in the video, for example, is only possible because I have what's called Spore Bloom, which you only get from completing the game on Veteran difficulty. But the higher difficulties as well have their own unique rewards. This is interesting because for a long time, there's been this sort of awful debate in the gaming sphere about Dark Souls or similar titles with high intrinsic difficulty, where one side says accessibility is more important than anything else, and the other side says difficulty is a part of the core experience. It's intended by the developers. Well, Remnant 2 has basically defeated this problem, at least in my mind. Beating the game on higher difficulties will give unique, very powerful rewards that you can't get otherwise, which you can carry with you further in the game, but it also does have those easier types of difficulty for the people that want it. Players who enjoy an easier experience can absolutely have it, but they don't get everything. If you want to improve, whether by skill, creativity, or perseverance, all equally actionable, they certainly can, but with unique rewards for the hardest content out there, Remnant 2 triumphantly returns to what feels like a lost era of video games, where the better players get better stuff, which is how it should be. I don't know about all of you, but I actually really like that. Taking it one step further, though, there is a hardcore mode where death is permanent. You will have to play the entire campaign, not die a single time, upon which you get access to items no one else has. And that, to me, is the perfect incentive to improve. I'm not good enough to do it yet. I always die at least once or twice here and there, but man, I really do want to get there and get those rewards. Now, for players who don't want to engage with that system, fine. But in a world where modern video games increasingly offer rewards with very little required effort and depressingly low satisfaction, Remnant 2 breaks the mold, does something different, and proves that a game can cost less. So it really can. The price tag can be lower while it has more content and just plays better with no microtransactions all at once in one single package. I always say I don't give 10 out of 10s, but that doesn't really matter because this game is a 10 out of 10. There's stuff wrong, okay? Like, I'm not trying to say there isn't. There's stuff wrong with optimization. Not everyone will love it. That's not what a 10 out of 10 means, and I guess I understand now what a 10 out of 10 is supposed to mean. So it's not for everyone. Not every single player will love this game, but Remnant 2 is a glowing example of what incredible quality, passion, creativity, and effort looks like packaged up under a $50 price tag. It rewards dedication, emphasizes the experience of finding new things, allows the player to become completely unique in their playstyle, very unique, while the underlying structure to make it all possible is just as good as anyone could expect and hope for. It also incentivizes cooperation, gives satisfaction from people working well together. I mean, everywhere you turn, there's another positive aspect to this game just like peeking out at you, and as long as you want to talk about it, there's more. I have no hesitation here whatsoever. Buy it, play it, enjoy it, come back to it. This game is very much worth your time. The developers are undeniably worthy of receiving your money. That much is without question. And yes, this will be the end of my review for it, but I'm still playing. I still have more to find, and this has become one of my top 3 favorite video games ever. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the review. This one took a while. I know it did. There's also some stuff going on behind the scenes that slowed it down, but yeah, if you want to support the channel, please check out the links down below, locals and Patreon, especially merchandise, social media, etc. But I'll cut it there and stop rambling. Oh, of course, the video sponsor as well. Surfshark has stuck with me through thick and thin. They've been fantastic. So please do check them out if you have any interest in a VPN whatsoever. As always, thank you all for watching and have a nice night.